I got laid off from my job. So you're in your 30s and you feel stuck. You feel like you have to push the reset button on your life. You need to push the reset button on your life, or you've been forced to push the reset button on your life. Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole. I am a content creator who creates all things how to help you live a more beautiful life. If that is something that you're interested in, definitely check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel. In today's video, we are talking about 5 things I did to restart my life, shift my life, change my life in my 30s. Now, this is not an easy thing, but I want to walk y'all through some of the things and how I overcame these things, because I know there's people who's going through it. I know there's somebody else going through it right now, whether you are just like, I'm not happy, how can I redo this? How can I start over? Or I've been forced to start over, and how can I get through this? So stick around, I will share with y'all the 5 things that I did and how it's been going for me. And this is just motivation for you to know that you'll be able to get through it. So let me take y'all back to August 2022 real quick. This is number 1. The first thing I did as soon as I hit my 30s, I did this and I had to do it unintentionally, unwillingly. The first thing I did was I got laid off from my job. Okay, I had to get back on the job market. I was forced to shift careers. Now, this is something that you may not feel like you're forced to, but maybe you're in your 30s and you're not making enough money. You don't love the situation that you're in. You actually are very stressed with the career situation that you're in. I was laid off from a job. This was a job that I was super comfortable in. I felt like this is the job that I'm going to retire from and become a full-time entrepreneur. Didn't happen that way, and sometimes the things we plan for ourselves is not God's plan. So this was the case for me. I had to get back on the job market. I had to dust off my resume. I had to start researching careers. What am I good at? What have I been doing for the past few years? And I know sometimes it's difficult, especially for people who have been in the same job or same career for years. And that's all. And then you feel stuck. How can I transition out? Sometimes if you've been in one career and that's all that's on your resume, you get boxed in. So when you try to change or shift, the new employer is going to be like, but you don't have experience. So what I did in this phase, I was just like, wrote down all the things that I have been doing in my career within the past 5 years. What are my competencies? What am I good at? How have I improved this company? How have I made an impact? And then I just started to go on Career Outlook and see what careers are out there that made great salaries, great incomes, and saw how my skill set could fit into that. So the first thing I did was have a career change. Mine was not something that I probably wouldn't have done. I probably would just been comfortable and content until I figured out how to make this entrepreneur life work. But if you are in a situation where you feel like you're stuck in your career or you're being forced to switch careers, just know you can get through it. Just take the time to really assess your skills, your capabilities, your qualities, and trust me, there's always a way to translate it into the new career path that you want. There's usually a lot of alignment with careers and things that you're good at. If you are good at something in one career, likely you'll be good at that same thing in another career, or you can learn. Now, being forced back into the job market in your 30s, especially if you're somebody who started working in the field right out of college, it can be difficult. Like I said, if you're content and you're comfortable in something, it's kind of hard to get out of it and bounce back and start over. But if you're starting over in your career in your 30s, it is possible. Just literally start mapping out what's next for you. Start mapping what you think will work for you, and you'll get through it. So that's the first thing I did, and this was 2022 August. It was a complete life shifter for me, and that's when things started to really change in my life, and I had just hit 30. Now, the second thing I did, first thing wasn't intentional, wasn't self-inflicted, but the second thing I did, once I realized I need to evaluate my life. I need to find fulfillment in this life. We only get one, right? I ended a long-term relationship. It was not the easiest thing. I was comfortable. We had a rhythm. We had kids together. This was a 12-year relationship that I made the step and said, you know what? I'm not happy. This is not working for me. This is not, I've tried for years, and we're not people, we are not the people we were. I know I wasn't when we met versus where we were. We just grew apart so much and continued to do so for years, and I just feel like I didn't know that person didn't know me, that person didn't really take the time to understand me, and that was the biggest thing. Communication has to be there. It has to be, we have to be able to talk and communicate, and we couldn't do that. So I said, you know what, I'm serious. We have to end this. We have to go in our separate ways. And it was difficult. Sometimes people can't really, no matter who it is, the woman or the man, sometimes we don't know how to take a breakup, and I know it's difficult for all of us. So it was a little bit challenging for me trying to get through that, but guess what we gotta do? We gotta try to live as fulfilled as possible in life. So that's the second thing I did to completely shift my life and start over. People say when you're in your 30s and you have a kid and you're a woman that you're damaged goods, that nobody's gonna want you, that you're not gonna find what you're looking for. People will try to, even with career, they will try to make it seem like you're damaged goods. You're too old to start over in your career. You're too old to start over in a relationship. But no, that's not true. Do not think that. Do not believe those things. That's negative talk. We're all about positive vibes over here. We're all about positive energy, positive self-talk. So even when the outside world is trying to bring the smoke our way, no, we know who we are, we know what we're capable of, and we know we can get through anything over here in this community. So I want y'all to know that. The third thing I did, this is all happening right when I hit 30, right? And it's not even a midlife crisis thing where I'm like, oh my God, things just started happening, and I just feel like everything is God's plan, period. So I've said this in previous videos, don't force anything. You try, be determined, be persistent, persevere through things. But when something is telling you this ain't working, listen to it. So the third thing I did was I sold my house. After so many things were happening, so many changes were happening, I sold my house for various reasons that I don't really want to get into, but I feel like I had to. I sold my house house, which was not easy because I had locked in a super cheap interest rate. This was during COVID time so it was a super low interest rate, so my monthly payment was so amazing. I will never get that again. But I had to evaluate the situation and do what I had to do. And honestly, a couple of years later, I don't regret the decision. It was difficult because I have a child from that relationship and having to transition everything, homes, job, schedule, routines, everything was different. Packing up the house by myself, cleaning and trying to remodel the house by myself, finding people and finding the money, hire people to fix certain things so that the house is looking presentable in the market. It was all challenging. And honestly, I also moved everything out of the house by myself. I took trips and trips, and then I ended up finding somebody to hold the big bulky items that I could no way possibly do by myself. But I didn't have anybody helping me to pack up the house. I didn't have anybody but my daughter helping me to paint the house. So it was a really hard time, especially like in your 30s. You felt like your life was together one minute, completely shaken up and not together the next minute. And I feel like I'm getting emotional. But so by this point, I had got laid off from a job. I had dabbled into a couple of jobs since then. I will say, once I got laid off, I landed a new job and had a new start date within a month. So I did not have a gap in pay, which was great. But I've always been the person, and I'm jumping between the job change and the selling of the house because it goes hand in hand. But I struggled throughout this whole time because I'm in my 30s. My life is turned upside down, right? And I've always been the type of person to have a position for at least 2 years, and I've stayed with an organization for at least 4 years. So from the time I got laid off for a year and a half later, I went through 3 new jobs, and that was so different for me. So as I've put this house on the market, as I'm trying to figure out what's next in my life, I feel like I don't have any stability, and that was so uncomfortable for me. It was so nerve-wracking for me and so stressful because I have a kid to take care of on my own. I have responsibilities, and I don't know where my career is going. I can't even hold down a job. And it's not that I couldn't hold down a job. It was just like the first job I got, my boss was bipolar, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it. I had my resignation letter drafted up in so many days I wanted to hit send, but I was just like, I have a kid. I need to buy a new house. I need to have a job for that. All these things. But I say all that to say it was not easy, and it was very stressful. So I did accomplish the thing of selling my house. So now we're really transitioning jobs, transitioning relationship, transitioning homes. So then the fourth thing I did was bought a new house, right? So things are starting to look up. I was able to maintain and hold down a job and income so I can buy a new house. Because one of my goals when in my 20s, I was like, before I hit 30, I want to own. And having property in my family has not been a thing that I've seen with a lot of people. My mother didn't own a house. My grandmother did, but she sold her house. So not a lot of people in my family actually own property, and I know that is a big part of building wealth, and I needed that. And so when I had to start over, it was just like, my credit is not quite the same. Prices for things are much higher. So it was just really hard to transition, kind of difficultly, but I bought the new house. We made it. Things cost way more, but that's okay. So I am getting through this, right? My world was shook upside down, but we bought a new house. Congratulations, we did it, right? So I say this to say, you can bounce back, right? You can figure it out no matter what transitions you go through in life. I said I'm going to buy me another house. I'm doing it completely on my own this time, but I am going to do it. I don't care if I'm going to figure it out. And I did it. So that's another transition, another thing I did to really just change my life and restart my life in my 30s, because buying a house is a whole process in itself. And once you get through it, you just feel like we're a step closer to where we need to be. All right. Now, with this new house, I had to get adjusted to paying bills completely by myself. I think I've always maintained the house by myself, but financially doing it all without help and no child support and all that stuff. I'm independent anyway, but it's just like, it's difficult. It's not easy. It's stressful. A lot of tears, especially when I had turmoil from that relationship still haunting me during the process. You know, nobody really considering how I felt or what I was going through took a toll on me, because you're fending for yourself. A lot of times in your 30s, you are fending for yourself. People expect you to have it all together. People are going through their own things, so nobody can really be your emotional support. And so it was a journey. It was a struggle. It was a challenge, but I did it. Now, the last thing I want to touch on in this video, because there's so many things and I'm always evolving, but the last thing I really did that changed my life and completely hit the reset button on in my 30s is going to therapy. Now, it's 2025 right now. That was end of 2022. So it's been a little over 2 years at this point that my life completely got turned upside down, that I had to really hit the reset button of my life in my 30s, and I'm finally in a great place. I took the initiative last year to start therapy because I'm like, I know I've been through a lot. And even though I was still okay, I had moved on, I was taking care of myself, prioritizing myself in 2023, and just good. I was good. I was like, I got this new house, I got a new career. Even though the career was still up and down, like I said, I didn't start the current position I'm in until early 2024. Very good space. But to avoid any type of trauma haunting me or just getting to a bad place, I started therapy. I found a great therapist through my insurance, and it was just a game changer because it helped me to process things that I probably would have never processed. So much trauma, so much that I've been through, so much that I've had to be strong for throughout my life has been a blessing and a curse, because it's been a blessing because I've been able to hold things down and make things happen, but not realizing that on the inside, this little girl inside of me is like, I gotta do it all on my own. It's really difficult. So therapy has changed my life. This is something that is a part of my lifestyle now. It's something that I'm going to continue to do throughout this year. But starting over in your 30s, where you have to have so many life changes and so many difficult things and so many independent moments and so many, the world is already hard enough on us, and I say this a lot like on my TikToks and stuff, we can get through anything. Don't ever let the world tell you you can't. Don't ever let the world tell you you're too old to start a new career because they just want the kids straight out of college, or you are too old to find love, because that's another thing that's happened in my life in my 30s, starting over. Yes, I ended a long term relationship, but now I started a new one, and it's been a year now, and it's good. It feels right. It feels, the connections, everything is there, and I just never thought I would have gotten to this point in my life from 2022 to now we're in January 2024. I'm sorry, January 2025. I would have never thought I would have made it this far, y'all. I was like, let me do this video because I know it's people going through some rough patches. And you could be in your 40s, you could be in your 20s, whatever. But I found my 30s, because things get real in your 30s. Like, my 20s, I was having fun. I guess I had a kid young, but I had responsibilities, but it was still a different vibe. But once I hit my 30s and all these things started happening and change, things just got real. I'm just so grateful I made it through. It was not easy. I know I wore it well, because a lot of people don't really check on a strong friend. Like, literally, it's a real thing, because that's who I am. I don't show what I'm going through a lot, and therapy helped me get through that, because I didn't really feel like I had friends or family to lean on for the emotional support. My family has always been pretty hard and like strong Black women, and that's cool, and that's got me through a lot, but it's not easy. You gotta be vulnerable sometimes, and I think that's one of the things I really learned from therapy, is how to be vulnerable and saying my worth and my value. And yeah, like, again, I hope this resonated with somebody. If you enjoyed this video in any way, please comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. Please, y'all, if you know somebody who is going through a tough time in their 30s and they're feeling like a transition is happening, or they're forced into a transition, please share this video with them. I am here to help. I feel like this is my calling in life, to inspire and motivate people, especially women like me, because we all go through some similar things, if not the same thing, at some point in our life. And I just want to be here to pick y'all up, okay? We need somebody to help pick us up off the ground. I've had to do that for myself a lot, and I want to do that for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a beautiful life, and I will see y'all in the next one.